We were not welcomed by the cats that were established in the scene because what are you guys doing? Nobody's going to listen to that music. Nobody's going to dance to that. You know, people want to hear rock and roll. They want to hear, you know, R&B covers and stuff like that. So, I don't know. Bands, just do your thing. Just do your thing. That's all I can say. In 1991, Joe Vasquez, up in heaven now, our late trombone player, we put an ad in the local music rag that was around. It was called the Music Note. Musicians looking to form a ska reggae band. We got a response from some guys in town who had a band called RRR Sounds, and we went to go play at the original Goose Saloons. They said, well, show up, bring your horns, and we'll see what happens. So I dragged Joe over there, did 2 nights over there. It's called RRR Sounds. We'd never played in a band before. It was just like, we're just here having fun. Those guys were all smoking out. I'm just like, I just wanted to be in a band so bad, so I dragged Joe over there. So reluctantly, Joe went back with me the second night. And from that point on, from that October gig in 91, we stayed, and as time was going on, guys in the band started falling off. And I can't remember how it happened, but we were introduced to Cesario, who introduced us to Jason Grooms. And then the band started to take a different shape.
When we first started, nobody was really playing reggae and ska in town. We had a couple of reggae bands that were playing, but nobody playing and combining both of them. And we didn't know it was going to be sort of like bragging rights to be in this band anyways. We'd show up at gigs on Sunday nights, and the place would be at Bam Bam's downtown, and it would be completely empty until we started playing, and then the place would fill up. Like, they must have been putting that payphone outside into overload because we'd start playing, people, hey, somebody's playing the specials. And then the place would fill up.
And then as the sound, our repertoire started changing, and we were really starting like, this isn't the RRR band anymore, it's going into something else. We got asked to play at the Reggae Fest in 1992, in June, and we needed a new name because we weren't RRR anymore.
The original band, RRR Sounds, stood for Roots Rock Reggae, which, you know, it's a pretty common phrase used in Jamaican music.
Bob Dunn, also rest in peace, he opened up a book of Jamaican terms and he goes, mentoburu. We're going to be mentoburu, guys. And we're like, okay, we're going to be called mentoburu. It does not mean dumb donkey. It does not mean mental brew or any other kooky names. I don't care. Mento and buru are 2 forms of African Jamaican drum rhythms. Mento folk music, buru drumming. Mento and Buru both make up the foundations of what became ska and reggae music. And that's what we essentially play.
From there, mentoburu kind of came in from the actions of my old band, Paper House, which broke up, and Mento kind of cannibalized the rhythm section of that band, getting the bass player, Jason, me, the drummer, our keyboardist and trumpet player, Mike, to play keyboards, and the other half of RRR Sounds to make mentoburu.
I remember the first time I met Joe, I'd come back into the BC marching band, and there's this big old Mexican dude, man, playing the trombone. He's marching across the field. It was, they were playing Space. Ba, 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 da. Scene comes across like this. There's Joe. I decided, well, I'm gonna rejoin the band. But one of my friends, John Cleveland, was a trumpet player. He goes, we're gonna have a party at Dad's house in Oildale. So I go over there. I go, one of these times I'm gonna go introduce myself to Big Joe. I go over there to the table and he's playing, he's drinking, and we're all partying, man, you know. And then next thing you know, the sheriffs come up and they totally bust the party. I go up to him, hey man, you all right? I'm all right. And it was just like, it was so funny because that was one of those moments that kind of almost defined Joe and I's relationship when we met, because we were in our 20s. We were crazy, we were hungry, had no care in the world. We just wanted to have a good time, and we could play our horns, and we were in the same type of music. So when I got my first apartment, Joe and I used to hang together all the time. We partied hard all the time and go around, but he said, one of these days we're gonna form a band. We just got along together like brothers. So wherever I went, Joe was like, well listen Matt, if you think it's gonna be good that we go sit in with these guys at Goose Looney's and we play some dub and we'll play some reggae, I'll go with you, man, whatever. So we're going, and Joe and I used to harmonize together and come up with horn lines on the spot all the time, you know. And so playing, we were like this, brothers, we were like this. As we got older, you know, our lives changed, but he was an integral part of the band. He was here when we first started. And through thick and thin, Joe stuck with us.
Joe Vasquez, the trombonist, had gotten Bell's palsy, so half of his face, really, that affects half of your face, and half of his mouth wouldn't work. So he couldn't make a sound on the trombone, and Mento works a lot, and they had a lot of stuff coming up, and they needed somebody to fill in for Joe while he recuperated. I just remember after that, reading in the paper, that I don't know why there was a little blurb, but there was something in the paper about me joining the band or being part of the band. And up until then, I thought I was just sitting in, waiting for Joe, but I've been playing ever since.
When Joe got sick, you know, Joe had issues just like everybody's got issues in life, but you know, he's got a huge heart, and we miss him, man, all the time, every day. He's missed. People are still finding out when they come to shows like, hey man, where's Big Joe? And we have to tell him, hey man, he's not with us anymore. And a lot of people start crying, man.
It just kind of fell into place. I mean, there were so many, there's been, every great musician that's been in town here, I think, has gone through the band.
Well, Mento's been here for, this is the 25th year, so again, I joined it maybe 5 years ago, but even 5 years ago, it was had a huge following, and I've been fortunate, you know, to be a part of that, you know, for as long as I have. I'm kind of known for playing a lot of notes, you know, like too many, some would say. So the first real gig that I got with Mento, Joe Vasquez called me. They couldn't find a horn player to sub for Paul. So, you know, he had gone through my list because I have 10, different guys that I use for stuff too. So it got to the point where they didn't have anybody, and Joe just said, can you come and play? You know, he said, but play one-handed. He's like, don't do a bunch of crazy stuff. Just play play in the pocket, and if you can play just with the one hand, then we'll see, if this will lead to some more, stuff. So, I did kind of as a joke, a little bit, because I was like, all right, whatever, asking me to play with one hand, whatever. So I did, and it worked out, and that kind of led to more gigs, and then it's just kind of blossomed from there.
I've been watching Mento since I was a kid, so they were the guys I looked up to. They were all fantastic musicians, but I've been doing it for probably since 2010. Their other guitar player kind of offered me the gig. Just like, hey, what would you think about playing with Mento? And I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know. That's a lot of playing, The first gig I played was at McMurphy's, a bar on the east side. And I was given a CD of tracks to learn for that gig. So I showed up there with my guitar, my amp, and we didn't play one song off of that CD.
One of the first gigs that we really left to put a little big star was we got to open up for Joe Higgs at the Reggae Fest. Joe Higgs was the Jamaican musician who actually mentored Bob Marley. At the time when we were first coming up, we didn't know who he really was. We're just like, hey, we're going to get to play at the Reggae Fest when it's at this cool band. We got to play with Joe Higgs. We got to play with a lot of our heroes, the Untouchables, the Specials in Fresno, Los Lobos, Poncho Sanchez, Pete Escovedo, War. We played with War so many times that they stole our percussionist, Marcos Reyes, who's now been playing with War for almost 20 years. The guys from Sublime, Hepcat, Skankin' Pickle, No Doubt. It just goes on down the line. We've been really blessed.
My favorite thing about Mento is the fact that every show is completely different. Even if we are playing the same material, there's a little bit of leeway with everything that we do so that it's different every time that we play it.
Every show that we play, There's always people there, and they're always into it.
I've never seen anybody really unhappy with what Mento's up to with the band.
We played a lot of really good gigs over the years, and we've played some really bad gigs over the years. And I think that's kind of what I've kind of found out over the years is that, and it's something that I've learned in this band, good band or not, or good gig or not, it's that I've had some of the most transcendent musical moments I've had with this band. And that for at least one song or for one moment in a song, I'm playing in the best band in the world at that moment.
It's a very humbling thing, our fans, because there are fans that have been following us for 20 years. Some of them come to like almost every show. It's very cool. Whether you're an old fan or you're a new fan, age doesn't matter. Like, it's really cool. We have people that are our age that are fans, people that are older than us that become fans or have been fans. We're playing the clubs, and the new generation of 21 and up coming, they're all becoming fans, and it's just really, really cool, very humbling. I feel so privileged to have a group and fans that come out and show support, and they just don't stop. It's amazing.
Well, I'm 43 now, and I've been in this band since I was 19, 20, shoot, I can't remember how old I was. And what I've been seeing are people that are my age bringing their kids and their grandkids, which is always a trip, and bringing all these different generations of the families and to come to the show, and they dig it.
What they don't know is I'm watching them. When I'm up there, I like to watch the crowd, and while they've been there with us the whole time, I've been there with them, watching them dance and have a good time. And so that's kind of, I feel, the relationship that we have. It's not just them coming to see us. It's like, I'm there to play with my friends and my bandmates, and I'm there to see them dance and have a good time. And it's always good to see familiar faces that you haven't seen for a while, and they come to a show and you're just like, hey, you're here. That's awesome. Let's have a good time.
There are some really great young bands coming up. There are some really great bands, and I'm really, really impressed. So I go out to find them, introduce myself, try to write stories about them for my column, and hopefully give them the bump. Because had those music journalists that were around at the time when we started, if they had not given us that bump, we wouldn't have been able to be as busy as we are. We were not welcomed by the cats that were established in the scene because, what are you guys doing? Nobody's gonna listen to that music. Nobody's gonna dance to that. People want to hear rock and roll. They want to hear, R&B covers and stuff like that. So fans, just do your thing. Just do your thing. That's all I could say.
We're still vital. We still have something to say. I mean, right here we're still learning songs, and we're still working at it. And in other words, we're not putting a shelf life on ourselves, and neither is our audience.
But it seems like since we've never stopped after all these years, I feel like, it's not time to recollect right now. I'm not ready for my memoirs. I'm ready just to keep on making these memories. We're just really appreciative for all the support. It's 25 years. We've been signed to a record label. We've had a lot of good times. And the fact that we're just able to continue to play and people still come out to enjoy us, that's the payoff, man. That's the payoff. We're lucky to be here. And, when it's time to go, well, we'll know. But right now, sorry, kids, we ain't going anywhere, We got too much, you hear what we hear in the garage right now. This is where it all started, and this is where all the magic happens. It happens in the garage, If my musicians, my guys right here, who I consider like some of the best in Bakersfield ever, if they did not want to deal, if they didn't think there was something special going on in Mento, even after all these years, they wouldn't want to deal with this sweltering heat that we're dealing with right now. And we're here, and we're looking forward to, the big 25 and 26 and 27, and you know where to find us. Cheers.